Nearly 1 in 5. That's how many Americans have gotten at least one COVID-19 vaccination. But what about children and teens? Are the shots for them? And could expanding vaccinations to the younger generation be a tipping point ending the pandemic? Our reporter, Laurie Johnson, is with us.
A COVID-19 vaccine trial on children ages 6 months to 12 years old is just beginning, meaning most kids that age could get vaccinated as early as 2022. Trials on teenagers are well underway. They could get theirs as early as this fall. Christian psychiatrist Daniel Amen tells CBN News expanding vaccinations to children and teens could clearly help in the long run.
Well, I think over time they could be very important because even though children aren't getting dramatically sick, they still can spread the virus. And the more we get on top of this, the sooner we'll get away from a pandemic that has spawned a mental health pandemic that is devastating so many people.
Religious leaders went public with their shots at D.C.'s National Cathedral Tuesday to encourage the larger faith community to help end the pandemic as soon as possible.
As a believer and a scientist, I can see the opportunity to use the tools of science as a chance to be part of God's plan for healing. The vaccines have in many ways for many people been an answer to prayer. They are safe and effective beyond what we had a right to expect. And yet, they will not help people by sitting on the shelf.
President Trump, who is now vaccinated, recommends others follow suit.
I would recommend it, and I would recommend it to a lot of people that don't want to get it, and a lot of those people voted for me, frankly. But, you know, again, we have our freedoms, and we have to live by that, and I agree with that also. But it's a great vaccine, it's a safe vaccine, and it's something that works.
Meanwhile, overseas, the AstraZeneca vaccine is suspended in some countries over the possibility that blood clotting is linked to the shots. All this during a surge in cases, some blame on lifting lockdowns too soon.
They simply took their eye off the ball. I'm pleading with you for the sake of our nation's health. These should be warning signs for all of us.
Laurie's joining us now with more on these developments. Laurie, what about that AstraZeneca vaccine is not used here in the United States? Is that right?
That is correct, Pat. So people here in the United States don't need to worry about the AstraZeneca vaccine. It is not here in the United States. What's going on with the AstraZeneca vaccine is overseas, predominantly in Western Europe. So there are 3 vaccines here in the U.S., Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, not AstraZeneca. But to answer your question, there have been some concerns about possible blood clotting. So out of an abundance of caution, they have stopped vaccinating people with the AstraZeneca vaccine. It doesn't look really, frankly, that there is a connection, but they have to investigate it thoroughly before starting back up again.
What about that one-shot J&J thing? Is that well available now for people?
Absolutely, and it's great because it doesn't have to be frozen. It only needs to be refrigerated. And the great thing about Johnson & Johnson is it's only 1 shot. The other 2 require 2 shots. So what health leaders are recommending is whichever one is offered to you first, just go ahead and get it because time is of the essence. Right now, it's not like a menu where you can choose which vaccine you get. You'll just be offered one.
No, I was told today in our community that Harris Teeter, which is a grocery store, is giving the J&J vaccination. I wonder if you go in among the carrots and the potatoes, then you get your shot. How does that work?
That's where I get my vaccines, at the Harris Teeter. That's our local grocery store. It's the pharmacy in the grocery store.
Well, I mean, it's safe to do that. Well, now, what do faith leaders need to do to get people to take this vaccine?
Well, faith leaders are really stepping up. For example, Franklin Graham mentioned today that he not only does he think people should get the vaccine, he said that if vaccines were available in the time of Jesus, he would talk about them, recommend them, and use them himself. And also said his late father, Billy Graham, was a very pro-vaccine person and would take the COVID-19 vaccine if he were alive today. So a lot of faith leaders, Robert Jeffress, Beth Moore, and others are not only encouraging people to get the vaccine, but also encouraging pastors who have access to a pulpit to make these recommendations to their congregations.
All right, last question. If you get the shot, the vaccination, are you free to go out and about and do what you want to do?
Well, the catch right there is you need to wait. So if you get a vaccination, 20 minutes later, you can't rip off your mask and go paint the town red. You have to wait a little while for your body to build up antibodies. 2 weeks minimum, but most health professionals recommend waiting 1 month, and then you can pretty much do what you want. Although it is recommended to continue to wear a mask if you're around unvaccinated people, because it's still unclear whether you can be a carrier of the virus. And so if you're around people who especially are high risk and haven't been vaccinated, it might be a nice idea to continue to wear a mask. That's why you saw people like Francis Collins and Anthony Fauci and even President Biden, who have been vaccinated longer than 1 month ago, still wearing masks around other people.
All right, thanks for that information. And folks, we're almost at the end of this thing. Thank the Lord.